This is a behind the scene video on how I took these pictures I uploaded online. And the equipment which I used to shoot these images was the 8600BM. I also used an 85cm octa-boss, and my trigger was my Nikon S2T trigger. I also used a reflector, and for the camera and lens which I used to take these pictures, I used the Nikon Z5 and the Nikon 85mm S lens is a prime lens, so that's what I used to shoot these images right here. So after setting up my light, I took a test shot without turning the strobe light on, and this was the first image I got. And the settings I used was the ISO 100, shutter speed of 1/400 of a second, and aperture was on f1.8. So that was my camera settings. You can see the first picture I took was underexposed. It's because I did not turn on my strobe. And for this other picture right here, I already turned on my strobe and I was trying to balance the light on my strobe. Mind you, I also used the same settings. I did not touch my settings again. I was just trying to bring up the power of my Godox 8600BM so that I can get a proper exposure. So that was what I was doing for these other images. And this image right here was the first image I got after setting my exposure, and I really like the exposure like this, and my settings was still the same. So I used ISO 100, shutter speed of 1/400, and aperture of 1.8. And the reason why I use aperture of 1.8 is because I want the background to be blurry. So I took this shot. I also took this shot right here, this shot, and I really like the image. For the next shoot, I asked the model to stand and I placed my 8600BM on the left side of the model, and we got some really nice shots. You can see the shot was amazing, and I still use the same setting. ISO is still the same, aperture is still the same, my f-stop is still the same. So as you can see, we have some amazing images right here. And for this shot right here, I wanted to add a little bit of punch to the image, so I just picked a leaf from the floor, I just placed it at the corner of the lens, and I just snapped, and we got some amazing image. So this is one of the images, this is another one. So that's how I got some amazing image, just because of that little element which I added to the image. So if you are taking the image, try to just add a little bit of element. It can be anything, just to add a little bit of punch to your image, going to make your image look better. So move to another location, and this time the sun was too bright, we don't have any shade, so I had to change my camera settings. And the settings I used for this other location, my ISO was on 125, my shutter speed was on 1/8000 of a second, while my aperture was still on 1.8. And the reason why I use 1/8000 of a second is because the sun was too bright and I want to cut down the power of the sun. That's why I increased my shutter speed, so that I can bring down the power of the sun. I can have control over the light, and we got some amazing image. So these are some of the images. Same settings here, same settings here, same settings here, and same settings here. So we actually got some really amazing images. So for the next shot, we went to another location which is under a shade, and I just had to change my camera settings. This time I used ISO 100, and my shutter speed was on 1/500, and my aperture was still on f1.8, and we also got some really amazing images. So these are some of the images I took with that settings. This is one of the images, another one, another one. So after getting those amazing images, I told the model that we're done for the day, that I've already gotten images that I really like. She bought an idea. She said she wanted to take some pictures while she was sitting down on the grass. So we agreed, and I decided to snap her. Now, because there was no shade and the sun was really bright, I had to bring up my shutter speed again so that I can cut down the light coming directly from the sun. So these are some of the images we took, and the settings I used was ISO 100, shutter speed was 1/8000 of a second, and my aperture was still on 1.8. It was still the same. So we took this image and it was really nice. And if you notice, I had my silver reflector at this side, as you can see, and it was really nice. And this is another image we took, and this as well. If you notice, I didn't change the aperture settings on my camera. It was on 1.8 from the beginning of the shoot to the end of the shoot. It's because I wanted that blurry background. That was the look I was going for. That's why I didn't touch the aperture settings on my camera. And during the shoot, I was changing the power of my strobe light. So if I take a picture and I feel the picture was too bright or the picture was overexposed, I'll just bring down the power of my strobe light. And if the picture was underexposed, I'll just bring up the power of my strobe light. I didn't touch the settings on my camera. I'll just adjusting the power of my strobe light to get a proper exposure. So that's what I did. Just a quick tip: if you are shooting with a strobe light, you don't always have to change the camera settings. All you have to do is just increase the power of your strobe and decrease the power of your strobe once you get your camera settings right. So you don't have to go into your camera and just change things right there. Instead, change the power of your strobe lights to fit. Except it's necessary for you to change the camera settings. That's when you change the camera settings to give a proper exposure. After taking a picture, you have to balance the picture and also edit the picture. Watch this video right here to see how I retouch this image. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay creative.